Hello dear friends, creative aficionados and truth seekers. Warning, I'm going to give you warning. Warning, warning. You got to remember these 4 words I'm going to tell you throughout this whole segment. Peaceful and pleasant, normal and natural. P.P.N.N. That's my trademarked slogan that I as an embalmer strive to achieve each and every day. Have you ever wondered why the body stiffens after death? Why our loved ones become cold and hard to the touch? That scares most people's heebie-jeebies out of them? Of course there are spiritual explanations and religious, but in this segment we are not going to go into those. We are going to focus on the science of it. The science of rigor mortis. Rigor mortis is due to a biochemical change in the muscles that occurs several hours after death. Though the time of its onset after death depends on the ambient temperature, without ATP, or otherwise known as adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is the source of energy for use and storage of the cellular level when the cell is alive. It is also referred to as the energy currency of the cell, as it provides readily releasable energy in the bond between the second and third phosphate group. Myosin molecules adhere to these actin filaments and the muscles become rigid, like a board, like a 2x4. It's unnatural. That's not how we remember our loved ones. These myosin is a molecule-sized muscle that uses chemical energy to perform a deliberate motion. So, how long does this rigor mortis last in humans? Similarly, the rigor mortis, which is also called cadaveric rigidity, starts developing within 1 to 2 hours after death, and takes around 12 hours after death for complete development and remains in the developed stage for further 12 hours. And disappears in the next 12 hours generally. What is really rigor mortis? Let me try to demystify this for you. It's a post-mortem change resulting in the stiffening of the body muscles due to chemical changes in their myofibrils. Rigor mortis helps in estimating the time since death, as well as to ascertain if the body had been moved after death. Very helpful for forensic pathologists and medical examiners, coroners, if time of death is undetermined or the death was of mysterious circumstances. So what is rigor mortis and what causes it? Basically, it's the result of the death of the cells in the muscle fibers of the human body. It's a sad thing to think about, which leads to chemical changes in those fibers that cause shortening or stiffening of the muscles. A living human produces ATP, that adenosine triphosphate, which allow muscles to relax. Without it, stiffening like a board. Why does the body go into this rigor mortis? When we're alive, we breathe in oxygen. But when oxygen is no longer present, the body may still continue to produce ATP via anaerobic glycolysis without oxygen. When the body's glycogen is depleted, the ATP concentration diminishes, and the body enters this rigor mortis because it is unable to break those bridges. Calcium enters the cytosol after death. Another thing that a lot of people don't know, that rigor mortis has a few stages. The first one is the absent stage. In this stage, the body is still receiving small amounts of oxygen anaerobically. There's the minimal stage, where the body's muscles have just begun to stiffen. There's the moderate. More muscles are beginning to stiffen, and it has become obvious that the body is no longer loose or flexible. There's also the advanced, complete, and past. When it comes to rigor mortis, age matters. Because the younger the person is, the harder it is to relieve it, because they have more muscle fiber and collagen. The older they are, it is easier because they have obviously less. It is very important to resolve the rigor mortis issue before surgical embalming, or cosmetic process, or reconstructive surgery. Post-mortem reconstructive surgery can begin, because the body has to be washed, disinfected by various solutions, and then we start to massage and manipulate the limbs to relieve the rigor mortis that I have referred to in the muscles. First, I'm going to show you the standard of how most funeral homes would prefer their hands to look post-mortem. So something like this. Assuming they're lying on the abdomen by the umbilicus. The hand, if someone is married, with the ring finger is on the top of their other hand, and it's looking peaceful, pleasant, normal, natural. But don't let anybody fool you. To reach that point, it could take a lot of work, because it is very common to find the deceased when we receive them in a state that is very complicated, such as in this way, where their hand is clenched, their forearm is very stiff, and the joints are connected like this. Now tell me, does this look peaceful, pleasant, normal, and natural? If a family member would find their loved one in this position in the casket, they would have a traumatic experience. We don't want traumatic. We want them to see them in a peaceful, pleasant, normal, natural way. That's my trademark slogan, and that's what I strive for every day. So that's the initial starting point. You have to relieve the clenched hand, the stress, and make them flexible, using gentle force to pry the hands open. So we're going to start with the big joints, assuming they have not suffered from debilitating rheumatoid arthritis, paralysis, some type of joint issue. So we're going to work our way gently, flexion and extension, to loosen as much as we can. Naturally, when we loosen this joint right here, the fingers become somewhat loosened. And then we press on the wrist, and they become even looser. And we try to go this way and this way. And we try to manipulate each finger and massage. Until we make the hand flexible to dislodge the rigor mortis. It's mostly comparable to getting a forearm clamp. Usually it's this way. We're trying to go against the pressure of a cramp in the opposite direction. It naturally wants to go this way. We want to go the opposite way. It takes force. You want to straighten it out from the opposite direction. It's cramping. Of course, there are some scary myths that I have heard that are untrue. That, for instance, depends on who you talk to, where you read, what you watch, that we intentionally maybe break the bones during this process, or even to resort to horrendous measures as to ambulate, cut off the limbs if they don't fit into the casket. Don't believe everything you hear. That's not true. Listen to me. That's not true. That's false. That's what horror movies are made up of. Our objective as embalmers, as funeral directors, is to take care of the loved ones as if they were living, to give them gentle, wholehearted, passionate care. If rigor mortis is not relieved, rigor mortis affects the amount of aldehyde taken up by the tissues. During rigor mortis, the tissue may not appear to absorb very much of the injected solution that we use. We use all kinds of solution, and I will do another segment on that. The blood vessels are contracted like other muscular tissues, so their diameters are reduced in size. This obstructs the flow of the embalming fluid necessary to preserve the decedent. Once it is ascertained, it leads to a very natural positioning and look. Peaceful, pleasant, normal, and natural. So, dear friends, creative aficionados, and truth seekers, hope that demystified the process of rigor mortis for you. No matter how you look at it, this is a natural process after death. This is just a tiny aspect of what I take into consideration when I do my embalmings. Please stay tuned. For the next episode, we will be discussing the mystery of lividity. See you soon. Thank you for watching.